Hello, my name's Cole Hendricks, and today we are going to be using Sketchup and Rhino to produce 3D modeled topography. What I'm going to do first is show you how to use Sketchup and extract geolocation data from Sketchup. Then we're going to go into Rhino and use Rhino commands to make the Sketchup topography something that we can actually use. So to start, I'm going to pick the type of Sketchup file I want. I'm going to say I want architectural inches here. And here's my Sketchup file. It's going to look like this. My first step is I need to make sure to delete this scale figure. It's very important. So I want to delete that, but the first step is I'm going to go into my file and I'm going to select geolocation here. Okay, so I select geolocation, I say add location. It's going to bring up a window like this. And I already know this is my site. I can put in a latitude and longitude, but there's also an option you can put in cross streets, an intersection, or an address. But I'm going to select this site, and my zoom level, which you can change here, my zoom level is going to be 18, and this is the site I want to extract the data from. So I say select region, and then import. So what I've done is I have this surface, this 2D surface in SketchUp, that doesn't have any topography or any location data as of yet. So what I want to do is I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to say Geolocation right here. It's 3 o'clock. And I'm going to say Show Terrain. So now what I've done is I've turned this 2D site picture basically into a 3D site surface model. So alright, so that's what I need to get from SketchUp. So once I've done that, I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as Terrain Mapping Tutorial, but you need to make sure to save it as a 2014 or earlier version of SketchUp. So I'll save that to my documents and hit save. Alright, the next step in the process, I can get rid of the SketchUp, and we are going to open Rhino. So here's Rhino. This is Rhino 6. I'm going to open up and say I want a new model. Alright, and it's really important every time you open Rhino, you need to make sure to check the units right away. So I'm going to check my units here. Right now my model units are in inches. I want to make sure that's in feet. So I want to scale that. And then I'm going to go down here to distance display, and I'm going to change that to feet inches, like that. So those are your first steps in preparing your Rhino file. Alright. Now that we've done that, we can import our SketchUp file. So we'll say File, Import here. So I'll click that. And remember, we named it Terrain Mapping Tutorial. That looks right. So I'll say Open. All right, all these import options you can just leave as they are for now. We can always change them later. So I hit Import. And what you're going to see, let's go into Perspective View, is we have basically a tessellated surface with these, or a triangulated surface that we can use with the geolocation data that we can use to create a topography and a 3D model of our site. So what we're going to do first is it imported these two layers, location snapshot, and location terrain. So I'm going to switch to shaded view. So this is the image that we saw, that 2D image from SketchUp. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that, click it. I'm going to move that to location snapshot, move objects to this layer, and then I'm going to hide that. Sorry, I'm going to select this mesh. I'm going to move that to location terrain. So I'm going to say move objects to this layer, so I can do it here, location terrain. All right, so now my location terrain can disappear, or my location snapshot can disappear. So the next step is we are going to highlight this mesh. I'm going to hide the snapshot. And we're going to create a point cloud from this mesh. So we're going to use our command extract point, extract pt, extract point. So this creates a point cloud right here from that mesh that we had. So now that we've created that point cloud, what we need to do is we need to make a layer for that to sit on. So right now I'm going to go through these different we're going to go through a few different layer names, and it's really key when you're using Rhino to organize your file. So I'm going to go through I'm going to name my first layer point cloud, like that. My second layer is going to be topo surface. My third layer is going to be topo mapping. My fourth layer is going to be topo contours. And my fifth layer is going to be flattened contours. Alright, so I still have my point cloud selected. So what I'm going to do, since I have it selected, I'm going to go up here and move that to the point cloud layer. Right there. So now if I hide my point cloud, oh, it's taken a second. Well, if it finishes loading, if I hide my point cloud, it will hide, there you go. If I hide my point cloud, it'll hide this point cloud. So now that we have that, what I can do is I'm going to hide my location terrain that I had originally. And what we're going to do is I'm going to select my point cloud. So I can go here and select all this stuff. And the command that we're going to use is patch. Patch. And so what patch is going to do is create a surface between those points. So I would suggest using the settings that I have here, 0.1 for your sample point spacing, and your surface U and V spans are going to be 50. You don't need to change your stiffness. So I'd use this and I'd hit OK. So I'm going to do that. And what it's going to do is it's going to create this new surface based on those points. So I'll take this and I'm going to move that to my topo surface layer. Right here, topo surface. So I'm going to change that color so you can see it a little bit better. Something like that. So now you can see I created this topo surface from my point cloud. Okay. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to hide my point cloud. I'm going to select this and I'm going to go into the front view. So I'm going to click front view. Alright, I want to make sure I can see the whole surface. Alright, so this is the front view. If I go into my shaded view, you can see it. So this is the front view of that surface I created. And the next command we're going to use is the contour command. So I'm going to type that in. Contour. Alright, and the contour command is going to cut this surface into little pieces, into little lines, so that we have the contours of this geolocation. Alright, and what we need to do is select a point lower here, and then we need to select a point above. And we need to make sure we're on ortho right here, which means orthographic. So we can move it straight up and make sure that we select a point lower and then straight up, straight vertically, and select a point above. So I'll click that, and what you'll see, oh yeah, the distance between contours, this is kind of a trial and error thing, but we're going to go with 5 feet because I've tried it a few times, but I suggest starting with something like 20 feet if you don't know what your site's going to look like. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hit enter. So once I've done that, you can see, let's go into perspective view, that I've cut lines of my geolocation, and I have the contours or the topography of my location. So what I'm going to do now in terms of keeping this in order is I'm going to move these to topo contours. So I'm going to hit right click. I'm going to say move this to topo contours. And let's make these red. Alright, so now you can see I have my topography here as a surface, and then I have my topography lines right there that give the data of the location. Alright, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to hide this layer. The next thing we're going to do is select this layer, and I want to copy that onto my flatten contours line. Alright, so I'm going to right click flatten contours, and I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to select copy objects to this layer. It may be different if you're using a Windows or a PC, but I'm going to say copy objects to this layer. So what that's going to do is my flatten contours layer is going to have the data that we had on our topo contours. So you can see I have 2 distinct copies of the same data. And we're going to need this because we're going to flatten, on the flatten contours layer, we're going to flatten all this data so it's not 3-dimensional anymore, right? So you can see it's 3D right now. And to do that, what we do is we select all this stuff and we say set point, S-E-T point, P-T. So we hit set point, and when this will come up, this menu. What I'm going to do is I want to align it to my Z plane. So I'm going to uncheck these two, and I'm going to say align to world. So what this is going to do is it's going to flatten all those contours as if they were smashed against the ground. And you'll see. So I'm going to hit set points, and I'm just going to put them anywhere. You can see I can align it with certain contours. I'm just going to put it here. Normally you would align it to your layer, your elevation of 0, if you could. So I'm going to put them here. And now you can see this is my flattened contour. So if I wanted to make a map of this place, I'd use this data. Okay? So now that I have my flattened contours, what we need to do is we need to go in and trim these contours and these contours. We need to trim them so that they match up with our location snapshot. So remember, our location snapshot is just this parameter. What Rhino has done is it has extended the topography beyond that zone that we selected from Sketchup. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide these two layers. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to type dupe border. Okay, you can see what I've done is it's dupe border. I'll put that on a new layer called border. Look at that. So I'll move that to my border layer. All right, so now I can hide my snapshot, and I just have my border. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up my flattened contours and my topo contours. I'm going to go into my top view. And the command that we're going to use is trim. So you can just type TR. And I'm going to trim these contours that are outside this border. So what I do is I have that. I select these. And you'll see they'll start to disappear. But you don't want to select anything within that surface. So like that. You want to make sure you get it right up to the edge. And it's just going to delete the stuff that's outside of the border. Alright, so I'm going to go around, and remember I'm trimming both my flattened surface and my topography. I'm going to go around, trim it everywhere, make sure I have no little leftover lines. There's one. Right, so I did that, and now I can hit spacebar, so I can hit done, and I can select all this stuff out here. And I can delete this. So we don't need this information anymore. All that we're going to need is the data that's inside that border. Now when I look at it in perspective, you can see I have my topography and then I have my flattened contours. All right, so the next step is we are going to make this topo surface here. I'm going to hide my flattened contours. We're going to make this topographic surface into a 3D object. So to make this topo surface into a 3D object, what we're going to do is first move this border that we created down to the lowest contour point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide my topo surface and I'm going to turn on my topo contours. Okay, so these are the 3D contours. Then I'm going to go into my front view so I can see these contours and where the bottom is. And I'm going to move my border. I'm going to click it here, type move, click the bottom contour, so that's right there. So now you can see, if we go in perspective view, I got it at the very bottom contour. And this is really important so that if we want to add a base or something below this, we can, but we know where the contours stop. So I'm going to turn off these contours and turn back on the topo surface. And I'm going to move that so that's right in the middle. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a box where that border is. So I'm going to click this point here, the two corners, and then I'm going to extrude it up like this. All right. So now you can see we have our box cut by this contour. And what I'm going to do now is click this box and type Boolean split. There. Then I'm going to click my topo surface and hit enter. So now what you can see is this surface we've created here. This is a three-dimensional surface that can be used. We can either 3D print this or laser cut this, but it has the geolocation data for our site. So what we've done today is we've kind of analyzed the different steps to gathering geolocation data. We have here our three-dimensional site. We have our flattened contours. Flattened contours here. Let's move these over. And we have our topographic contours here. So what we have, flattened contours, which is shown in 2D, could be used to create a map. our 3D contours, which is basically what we got when we sliced through this. And then we have our 3D object, which we can use to laser cut or waffle or pancake model. And links to using this model will be in the description below, so you can create something in real life out of this 3D model. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.